Never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Emmet Kennedy.
You're welcome to the weekend review on the Final Furlong podcast. What a weekend to go back over. Grey Dawning gets it done in the Betfair Chase. Stellar renewal of the John Durkan Memorial Chase. Was pretty much over after two fences, but we still got a lot to talk about. We could basically spend the entire podcast talking about that. Smash a like on this episode if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. I'm alongside multiple Grade 1 winning jockeys, Daryl, Jacob and Lizzie Kelly, to break down what was a really, really intriguing weekend's racing. We'll start with the John Durkan Memorial Chase. I was there at Punchestown. It did feel like it was over after two fences. Paul Townend got an enormous lead on Gaelic Warrior. But as somebody who's ridden at the top level, Daryl, how difficult is it to be making the running on Gaelic Warrior like that? And how difficult was it for Facto to make up that ground? And which of the two do you think comes out best?
I think the two of them come out with enormous credit the way the race was run. I mean, obviously, Paul he didn't set his stall out to make the running, and he wasn't sure who was going to make the running. Obviously, there was a few more outsiders or whatever that was lined up on his outside and Mark's outside. And it was interesting, actually, when they were down to start, Mark was down the inside and Paul was one off, and then they switched just before they jumped off. So they switched codes. But like Paul, I mean, to be fair, Gaelic Warrior he's a very fresh horse anyway, isn't he? And he's basically carted with Paul, and Paul thought he'd let his hands down on him and he'd relax after a couple of fences. It took him over a mile to actually relax and start coming back under Paul and not. And he was very, very free. The time was very, very fast. And I mean, Mark Walsh must have been absolutely thinking all of his Christmases have come at once, because Paul was in front looking like as if he was going to do too much. He was sitting 6 lengths off him, so he was getting a lead into the race. Fastorslow and the rest of the contingency were 20 lengths behind them. So Mark was thinking, the only horse I've got to be here the whole way through the race is the horse that's in front of me. So he could have delayed his challenge to whenever he wanted to. And I actually thought he did delay his challenge. He produced his horse at the perfect time after the second last, but you could see whenever Mark Walsh was coming upsides Paul going to the last, all of a sudden Mark was gone, like he wanted to go and put the race to bed. And you could see he was sort of half getting, oh no, I'm not getting away from him as quick as I want to do. So then he had to start riding down to the last. And it was a monumental performance from Gaelic Warrior to come back up again after being how keen he was to get back up in the dying strides to win that race. It was a Hercules of an effort.
It's funny when you're watching the race in person, you're almost focused on the horse that's going to be coming up to challenge, and it just looked like Mark Walsh had this in the bag. Like all he has to do is jump the last and it's game over. But watching it back today on Racing TV, Paul Townend was going very well. I think Townend knew exactly what he had to do, and he knew there was plenty left in the tank as well. And it's the second race in a row over fences, Lizzie, where he's passed out jumping the last and he galvanizes the horse to get up to win. A superb performance from him. But what did you make of the race overall?
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic race, and I very much thought Gaelic Warrior was beat. I thought he'd done too much, and yeah, Facto was there and ready to take the crown and go past him. And like Daryl said, he just actually couldn't manage to get past him. Paul Townend was able to, whether he kept enough in the tank, whether he was actively doing that or whether the horse was able to just dig a bit deeper, I don't know. But I feel like Townend probably didn't want to go like as fast as he did. You sort of got the feeling that Gaelic Warrior was really tanking with him, and I think perhaps the only thing I would say that I felt was a bit of a shame was that it really was always between those two. I don't feel like anybody else featured at all. And it would have been nice to see a couple of the other, because I felt like the race did have some depth. But it kind of just didn't work out that way. And it was a brilliant race to watch. And Gaelic Warrior, I think the change as well from when we saw him in Aintree, where he was very much held up and very much almost like coaxed into the race by Willie Mullins. It was a very different Gaelic Warrior that we saw at Punchestown.
Yeah, for sure. What do you put it down to, by the way, about What do you put it down to, about the race overall, about the lack of depth? Because it was incredibly strong. That's arguably the strongest grade run that's been run all year, including the Cheltenham Festival back in March. But is it that a lot of these horses just needed the run and were going to improve for it, or was it that they just couldn't go the gallop?
They couldn't go to gallop. It's pure and simple. I mean,
I'd say they just couldn't go to gallop.
Fastorslow, admittedly, he was having his first run for basically 365 days since he was fourth in that race last year. He's a fast horse. He's not a slow horse at all. But you could see with JJ's body language, after 3 fences, JJ was struggling to go to gallop. Hartwood had a run already, so he was fit. And he, again, is a decent... He's got a lot of speed in him. He's a very, very good traveller, Hartwood is. I know the way you're thinking. I mean, he's the horse that won the Gold Cup. I mean, sure, he just couldn't go it. I mean, he was completely run off his feet from the word go. And Lucky Watson, again, is a festival winner. Festival winner. He was off his feet. They were literally all out on their feet. They just couldn't go the gallop. And that's what's astonishing. That's what's amazing about this race. I mean, look, Gaelic Warrior has been a 2-miler. He won over at Aintree over 3 mile, won 2 mile 4, 2 mile 3.5 there yesterday. You know, it was a perfect sort of trip for him in the fact that he's got the 2 mile speed, but he's also got stamina. But you could see with Paul's body language for the first mile, his heels were down, his hands were off the neck a little bit, trying to reserve him, trying to keep him back. But every time he's seen the fence, he's just attacked his fence. And it's not until he's Is that
Paul Townend ringing you to give him praise and not be criticised? Is that Paul Townend ringing you to make sure you're lavishing praise on him?
Exactly, yeah. But it's not until sort of the 5th last and the 4th last where Gaelic Warrior has got in kind of half stepped at the fence. He's very, very low, that he's actually come back under Paul. And because, I mean, again, it's brilliant race riding by Paul, because after them sort of mistakes, the horse has actually come back from me. So he's used his freshness. He's had a good blow, and Paul has sat then the whole way, and that's over a half a mile from home. Paul has used that then, and he just sat up on him, and he got the horse back. Where Mark had to make inroads on him, he was all the time filling his horse up with the tank, and you could see with Paul, he's never ever moved on that horse until halfway between the second last and the last. So he's asked the horse for another furlong and a half to run from, where Mark has made up that ground to get to Gaelic Warrior. Paul's been filling up. And it's just like I say, he just factor file. He thought he was going to win, but then Paul had stored more. He got more air into his horse's lungs, and he's been able to repel him.
What does this mean for both horses going forward? So they tried factor file over 2 miles at Punchestown. I just ignore that. It's end of the season. He's beaten way too far to know that he's not actually fully effective over 2 miles. And it's possibly an interesting thing to do with him because he travels very powerfully. And obviously JP McManus desperately wants to win the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Form of the Arkle continues to work out well. Jango Baie's bolted up. Load of Suds bolted up. The only winner that Gavin Cromwell has had in the last 15 days from 58 runners over jumps and 67 in total, including the all-weather, is only by night. So that Arkle form is just ridiculously good. But maybe Majborough might go up and maybe Factifile comes back. Or perhaps both of these horses now go for the 3 mile options. Gaelic Warrior goes to the King George, Factifile goes for the Savills, or vice versa. Do they both take all the beating wherever it is they go? Lizzie?
I don't know. I think both of them obviously had a pretty hard race. Because Gaelic Warrior would have had to have dug really deep there, and obviously Factifile's had to chase them down. I don't know what I'd do with them. I mean, I wouldn't really be in a massive hurry to step Gaelic Warrior up to 2.5 if I trained him. I think to 3 if I trained him. I think that he's almost like the perfect horse for 2.5 because he stays, but he's quick. And a lot of people don't like the Ryanair in terms of the fact that they don't feel like it's a proper championship race, but I really do. I think it's actually one of my favourite races because they have to have both. Like you have to have both speed and stamina for a Ryanair. You can't be one or the other, and it's a tricky one. Before we started recording, Daryl made the point that Gaelic Warrior is a horse who seems to thrive off being fresh, and I would question how fresh he would be after a performance that he put in on Sunday. You know, he put in some shift there, and you'd like to hope that he could be fresh. But then, having said that, you know, some horses they almost come out of their races like better than they went into them. They get like a real buzz off knowing that they've won a race, and they'll like kind of be really pleased with themselves, and they're actually almost like come on for having won more than they would have done for just having run well. So yeah, it's certainly interesting for both of them really going forward.
Well, I think Willie Mullins is an absolute genius and he rarely gets things wrong, but I think he did get things wrong with Gaelic Warrior. And it's all very easy with the benefit of hindsight, but they just seem to be obsessed with poor old Facile Vega, who didn't make it, unfortunately. But they seem to be obsessed with making him into the Arkle horse and turning Gaelic Warrior into this JLT Turner's Novice Chase horse. And then Facto Facile Vega gets beaten in the Irish Arkle. Facto destroys Gaelic Warrior in that 2-runner race. And then that flipped them. And that meant Facile Vega was sent for the 2.5 mile race. Gaelic Warrior ends up winning an Arkle, but he probably won it on class in terms of ability. Ilete Tomp just doesn't go at Cheltenham for whatever reason, and that'll be interesting for the champion chase later in the season. Found a 50 is found a 50, and Quixius was basically left at the start and would have been really the only danger on the basis of what he did in the champion chase the following season, and he couldn't really run his race that day. So they then decided to campaign him as a champion chaser last season, which he's not. He's either an intermediate horse or he's a 3-miler, and you didn't see that until the end of the season when Paddy gets that great performance from him at Aintree and then he backs it up at Sandown. So now they're probably stuck with hang on, is he a Gold Cup horse? Is he an intermediate horse? What do we do? And you're not going to know really until the King George. So I think it makes it, he's already won an Aintree Bull, so he clearly stays 3 miles. Now he's won a John Durkan. But it's funny, this horse might have achieved an awful lot more already had it not been for the fact that...
But what I would say about the Aintree race was that it was probably one of the best rides I've seen in ages. I felt like Paddy Mullins won that race. Like how he got that horse. And it was an exceptional ride and on a track that I think slightly favours horses that aren't proper grueling 3-milers. Like I feel like it's obviously flat and it's quick as well, but I personally don't feel like you need to like really, really stay around there. I think that the bowl has obviously, it's meant that he's got like that next to his name, and so therefore you're thinking, oh, like he's a 3-miler, he's well able to be a 3-miler. But I think there's 3 miles and there's 3 miles, isn't there? And I feel like he got, I wouldn't say he got lucky, because I just feel like it might show him in a slightly different light to what you see if you actually scratch away the surface, and that he was ridden really cold, wasn't he? And that's conserving energy. And just I wouldn't necessarily then put him in like. But he
was a fresh horse. He was a fresh horse too going into Aintree. Yeah. A lot of them other horses had taken each other on at Cheltenham and places like that.
Great,
so he did have the benefit of being very, very fresh from missing Cheltenham.
The 2 horses were fresh though. Grey Dawning had been trained.
No, I'm just saying the majority of the horses. And they were the first 2 home. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Gaelic Warrior, he was a very, very fresh and very well, because he ran at Leopardstown the time before that, didn't he? He was 3rd to Solness, missed Cheltenham, and then that spring ground, that nicer ground at Aintree. Seen him at one of his very, very best, and he was given a majestic ride by Patrick Mullins. There's no doubt about that. But the thing about Gaelic Warrior that makes him so special, he is a quirky horse. I mean, we've seen it before at Leopardstown. It's some days he gets out of the bed and he's very, very good, and some days he's not. So, but that's the art of training horses, and it takes a long, long time to get to know some of these horses.
Is Townend going to go for the King George, or will he ride Quebec de Boards in the Grade 1 in Ireland?
Oh,
if it's
he
you,
King George, surely.
Yeah, I would have thought so. He won the King George last year. He's going to surely want to go back to
What's
back.
he going to do? Go back to boards as a novice. He's got go back to boards for the rest of his life. Touchwood, please God. I mean, it's a grade one.
Yeah, but somewhere on the morning gallops, you can be absolutely certain Patrick Mullins is saying, go back to boards is a machine ton, and you have to stay in Leopardstown to ride him so he can go to Kempton and ride Gaelic Warrior at the King George.
He'll be pulling his arm out trying to get on Gaelic Warrior because he gets on great with horse. So, I mean, look at whatever way you look at it, if it's not as if Gaelic Warrior go back to boards isn't going to have a brilliant substitute in a jockey, because if he does stay to ride Copic to doors, which I very much doubt he will, Patrick will ride Gaelic Warrior, vice versa. If he comes over here, well, I would imagine Danny Mullins or Patrick, any of them will ride Copic boards over in Ireland. So
yeah,
I know where
I
I'd be
wouldn't
going.
be getting off him. No way.
Huh?
I'd stay and ride him. I would.
What, Copic to boards?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you're going to turn up. You're going to ride Copic to boards in the Arkle anyway.
Yeah, you could get back on Gaelic Warrior whenever you wanted.
Well, Townend's had over 150 Grade 1 winners, Lizzie. I think I would rather win a King George than a novice chase around Leopards and the Christmas meeting.
He won it last year.
Doesn't matter.
He doesn't need to win it.
You can never win too many King Georges.
I would 100. I would not get off that novice chaser for love nor money.
No way.
Townend, you've got a decision to make. Are you going to stay in Ireland? It's easier for your family, by the way, if you stay in Ireland too. You get to see more of them.
Tell me, you wouldn't go if you're on a short price favourite for the King George. You wouldn't go and ride a King George winner
over like an exceptional.
Ruby once had it for years and years and years. I mean, riding one of them Grade 1s. He was coming over to ride in the King George.
I just would not let anyone else ride that novice chaser.
Maybe he can do one of those.
It wouldn't matter what you were missing out. I wouldn't let anyone ride him.
Maybe he can have a word with the Leopardstown Planning Committee, make sure the race is delayed, and then he can get one of those Coolmore helicopters that Ryan Moore uses on Irish Champions Weekend to go from Doncaster to Leopardstown. Like, shove that race back to 5:30. Run it in the dark. Have the floodlights on.
What would you do, Emmet, if you were a jockey? What would you do?
Oh, King George.
Yeah,
it's the King George. You're going to get back on Copic to boards for the Irish Arkle.
Lizzie, you've been outvoted here 2-1.
No,
I find that a fascinating view from Lizzie, though. I wasn't expecting her to say that, so that's very intriguing. Just in terms of how the race is going to be run, the Jukebox man's going to go forward. So what do you do with Gaelic Warrior and the King George? Do you continue these positive...
You just drop in like what Patrick did around Aintree on him. Love
it.
Mid-division. Let all them. There's loads of pace in that King George we've talked about before. It's relentless. You just get your horse nice and settled. You follow a horse that you think is going to take you to the second last, and you're in the perfect position then the whole way around. There'll be probably 8. Will there be 8, 9 runners in it maximum?
Gaelic Warrior, Jango Baie, the Jukebox man, and then maybe Jello rocks up, maybe, and then a bunch of outsiders that don't really have a chance. Yeah, about 7 or 8.
Yeah, perfect. Easy job.
Very briefly on the Gold Cup winners.
It's going to be a fascinating race, mine. I must admit, now I've been proved wrong. Remember we had on the podcast before, we talked about Django Bay, would he go for the King George?
Yeah, you were adamant that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I was adamant that I didn't think that would happen. But after Ascot on Saturday, I think I've got to eat my words in this, because I thought he was very, very, very good at Ascot on Saturday. And he will have tons of improvement for them. So if I'm being honest, I think that's the race for him now, isn't it?
Well, we'll talk about him in a second. Just on, I know the way you're thinking. Gavin Cromwell's horses are running appallingly. Now, he's a brilliant trainer, and he will continue to have a fantastic season. I don't doubt that. It'll all come right in the end. But it's now 15 days since he's had a winner. 58 runners over jumps, 67 in total, including runners in the all-weather. 1 winner, only by night. She must be an absolute machine, and that Arkle form, again, is just red hot. I know the way you're thinking was well beaten in the John Durkin last year, but he was beaten 53 lengths, Lizzie, and you know where I'm going with this. The record of horses who ran in the Gold Cup subsequently is appalling. Yes, Native River, A Plutard, Album Photo, Galopin de Champ, that can lure you into this false sense of security of, oh, well, they ran well in the Gold Cup and then subsequently went on to do great things. They're the exceptions that prove the rule. You go back to the last 25 runnings of the Gold Cup, it is appalling, the record. I would need to see this horse do it again, and he's 4-1 favourite with 1xBet in Ireland. You can, for the Gold Cup itself, you can have that.
Yeah, it was a disappointing run, wasn't it? And he said he was flat out everywhere. Obviously, he's not running over his optimum trip, but I did sort of feel like he must have gone some gallop because they were really strung out, weren't they? They were strung out like the washing. They couldn't really even get a look in from very early on in the race. But, in a way, I suppose you take some positives in a backwards sort of way out of the fact that the stable form is really poor at the moment, because you'd like to think that once the stable form improves and the yard gets going, that hopefully he will improve. We want him to, in theory, one wants that horse to return to the kind of form that we saw him in the Gold Cup. Obviously, I would much prefer for Galopin de Champ to win another Gold Cup, personally. So I don't want him in too good a form. But, I think there are positives to be taken from the fact that Gavin Cromwell's horses just aren't running too well at the moment. And hopefully, I know the way you're thinking, will be back to his best soon.
Yeah, be nice to see, but I'd need to see him do something. I really would.
I actually don't think it was that bad a run, if I'm being totally honest with you.
He was beaten 52 lengths.
Yeah. Yeah. But Keith wasn't that hard on him. It's the start of the season, man. He's been trained for one race and one race only, and that's the Gold Cup.
Yeah, the Grand National. Oh, sorry, that was last season.
We're in November time. The Gold Cup is 4 months away.
He was trained for the Grand National. He wasn't put in a race once, and then they supplemented him for a Gold Cup because the ground was going to be bad, and he shaped very well in the Irish Gold Cup, and they got very, very lucky. Very lucky. Because they bumped into an off-colour Galopin de Champ. But I'll tell you this, you went to war with Galopin de Champ at Cheltenham, and you came out on the right side of it. Now, we know Galopin de Champ can come back from that, because we've seen him do it twice in a Gold Cup. Never mind the Martin Pipe. And that Turner's. How did he? and everything else. But that's going to take an awful lot out of a horse. And that's the first time we've seen him since. They didn't take him to Aintree for the pole. They went to Aintree after winning the Kim Muir the season before. They didn't turn up to Punchestown at the end of the season.
Well, then does that not what you're saying then? Does that not bring it into his run there the other day? He said it took an awful lot out of him in the Gold Cup. Does that not just resemble like he's he's not getting put under the cosh too much? Well,
he was sent off an 18-1 shot
because they want him for one day and one day only, and that is in the Gold Cup.
He was sent off an 18-1 shot, so I'll give you that. Everyone knew it wasn't going to be his day. He was 22-1 for the race last year, but last year he was beaten 36 lengths, and this time he's beaten 53.
Yeah, but totally different type of race, mind. Last year they didn't go anywhere near as quick as what they went yesterday.
We're talking about the 4-1 favourite for the Gold Cup. I'm telling you.
I'm not saying I'm not saying I would back him for the Gold Cup, but I'm just saying his run actually yesterday wasn't as bad as what everyone might think it was.
I thought that was awful.
Okay.
He might improve, and hey, maybe he goes and wins the Savills, and perhaps when the Gavin Cromwell horses are flying it, maybe it's not going to matter. Maybe you don't actually see the best of him until the Gold Cup itself. I would be very sceptical about that horse. Very, very, very sceptical about him. But hey, if you like him and you're in Ireland and you want to have a bet in the Gold Cup, you can now get 4-1 with 1xBet if you're betting right now in the Republic of Ireland. You can sign up now to 1xBet. The link is in the episode description on YouTube and on all the podcast apps. Click on it there. It'll take you to a betting website that has over 7,000 markets for you to get stuck into every single day. Loads of new sign-up incentives and various different offers as well. Obviously, 18 plus, gamble responsibly. Terms and conditions apply, as they always do in life. The 1xBet link is in the episode description. Check it out now. And maybe get stuck in to 4-1. I know the way you're thinking. I think you'd be mad to be taking that price, quite frankly. Nice horse. Did us a big favour on the Kim Muir.
They might be getting his handicap down for the Grand National this year. Win the Gold Cup.
Imagine the handicapper dropping him, and then he suddenly goes 2-1 favourite on the day at Aintree. The JP boys are back. Here we go. We're going to stick with the King George horses for the moment. So we'll switch to Jango Baie because you were talking about him at Ascot. It was a very impressive performance. I thought Victoria was going to win this. Oof, dearie me, I got that one wrong. Dan Skelton tearing it up. His former master, not so much. But Nicky Henderson continues to emerge with good horses. We saw Luambo on Monday. We've now seen Django Baie, and he proved that Arkle win was no fluke whatsoever. Probably a little bit over the top at Aintree when Imperi Pass beat him, for all that Imperi Pass is a very good horse. But this was much more like it, and he has to be a major contender for the King George, Daryl.
Oh, what a performance, wasn't it? I mean, it was the makeup of the race. I mean, Nico couldn't believe his luck, the makeup of the race, because obviously you had Ile Francais was always going to go forward. Pictori was always going to go forward. The surprise package was when I thought Gidley Park ended up making the run out of two of them. I mean, and Nico de Bonville was sitting in behind all three of them thinking, yeah, you just keep going, you play your cards. They swapped it. I mean, Gidley Park ended up jumping to the front, but the pace of the race never ever dropped at any stage because they just kept taking each other on. And what Nico done is a lot. Obviously, some of Nicky Henderson's horses are needing to run. He's got the horse to have a blow sooner in this race than he has done in previous races. He's given a kick in the belly, given a squeeze. He's got him to have a blow. He sat against him, and then he knew his stamina would take him home. First time wind operation as well. That was a hugely impressive performance. But I must admit, the way the race was run, it was set up ideally for Nico out the back and letting all of them guys take each other on, because Ile Francais clearly doesn't like being bullied. He doesn't like being taken on. Pictori, I thought, was on and off it, whether he had a ridiculously hard race up at Weatherby in the Charlie Hall, and he was a little bit flat from that. And Gidley Park, I thought, ran an absolute screamer, but he's not the calibre of the top four in the betting. So I thought he's ran with an awful lot of credit to finish second, considering he was basically making the running for the majority of the race. But again, when you're just a bit like when you're a jockey and you're on one of the better horses in the race and they're going very, very quick in front of you, it's fantastic, isn't it, Lizzie? I mean, you just love it, don't you? When horses are going to go hard and they're going to take you into the race, and you can decide then when you want to play your cards.
Yeah, I mean, not normally I was one of the jockeys going very fast, so out the front. But yeah, I mean, it was.
I told you she was. I told you, Emmet. I told you. That's Lizzie for you.
Lizzie, somebody had to ride those 50-1 shots. Somebody had to.
No, I must admit, I didn't like doing it.
No, I always, it's handy if you can get a nice lead into a race. It's very important that they obviously take you into the race so that then you can overtake them at the right time. I always think it's really important that you don't let the pace drop, but you have to be on fit horses in order to make sure that it doesn't. And obviously, if people are going to do it for you, that does make it easier. I feel like Jango Baie, he's a really likeable horse, isn't he? Because he sort of jumps really well. He quickened away from them really nicely. He made it look really easy. And obviously his victory at Cheltenham in March was just so sort of exceptional, so surprising. And I felt like it really showed him that I felt like he'd improved from then to now. I felt like he looked like he got stronger and better actually over the break, because I felt like he travelled into his race better, and he didn't sort of need to be quite so showman in his way of winning that we saw at Cheltenham. But I thought it was a really impressive performance. Obviously, his first go up in open company, and it wasn't easy, was it? I mean, there was a nice race with some big names in there. And Pick Dory was the obvious one to like, given his record in the race. I felt he looked a little bit flat. But again, I think he's another one, like, Francais, they quite like to dominate. He wasn't able to do that. And Gidley Park, I thought, came out of it really well. I feel like he's a nice horse. Whether he's probably not quite of that level, is he? I think he kind of needs things to fall his way. And Harry Fry's horses have actually been in good form, so there's no excuses for him. But yeah, I thought Jango Baie made it look probably a lot easier than it should have done, really, considering the calibre of the horse beaten.
With 3 races, Gidley Park could have...
All the races that day, were the timings were slow, and that was 0.11 fast, that race was. So that just goes to show the speed that they went around there in that race.
There were 3 races Gidley Park could have gone for. The graduation chase, he would have bumped into the Jukebox man, who probably would have kicked him out of the way as well. There was a handicap chase for novices or second season novices at Ascot. That's the one he probably would have taken an awful lot of beating in. And in this one, he ran as well as could be expected. You could be very, very picky at the form. You could say, well, Lille Francais was favoured on Thursday when you were talking about the race, and he's bombed out completely, and Pick Dory hasn't run his race. What has he really achieved? I thought Pick Dory, frustratingly, probably did up to a point, and then just got obliterated by younger legs and was probably feeling the effects of that hard race in his comeback run. And maybe that's just what he is now. We'll see. And Ile Francais, well, this is basically what I predicted. I hope the horse gets bombed out here, and then we're getting a big price with him for the King George, which we now are. He's 20-1 for the King George. And that's a meeting he's run so well in the last couple of years. He won the Cottestar Novices Chase, and he was narrowly beaten in last year's King George. It's probably going to be a better King George, and you're really probably only looking at him for exotic purposes. But that's a horse with a major, major health warning, Lizzie.
Oh, yeah. Like, I love him. I absolutely love him. I think he's just beautiful. He's absolutely gorgeous. I felt, but I would never ever put money on him. I'd love it when he wins, but I would never put on him. He's just very inconsistent, and we know that there are obviously health problems, and he just seems like a horse who just, when he does put it together, he's exceptional. But sadly, those days seem to be few and far between.
Well, that's his 3rd time in 6 starts that he is spectacularly blown out. In fact, it's the 4th time in 6 starts that he's spectacularly blown out. So proceed with caution.
It's such a shame.
Yeah, it really is, because obviously the talent is there. The other big comeback run was from the Jukebox man. Now, I spoke to Ben Pauling on Thursday morning. Very, very bullish about a huge run from Handstands. Expected a good run from the Jukebox man, but wouldn't have been shocked if he'd been beaten. Funny how that stuff works out, isn't it? Handstands ends up not staying in the Betfair Chase, but ran a nice race for a long, long way. And the Jukebox man was pretty effortless in the end. Iroko, we doing this again? Are we doing this again? Really?
I tell you one thing. I was there at Haydock on Saturday, and actually Iroko looked really, really well. Really well.
Did he?
Yeah. After his little window operation, I think he ran quite nicely.
What's the line? Lydia Hislop did this morning. I'm going to do it too. This is Timeform's interpretation of the run. Iroko looked fit following an 8-month break. Also had a breeding operation. Since the Grand National, but was essentially ridden with an eye to the future. Prominent, ridden approaching 2 out, around 4 lengths down at the last, ran on while not being unduly punished, albeit flattered by proximity to eased winner. Likely to follow a similar campaign to last season, a return to Aintree, his long-term aim. So,
yeah, that's about sums it up well in a nutshell, I think. Yep. He did look very, very well in the parade. He's a gorgeous-looking horse, isn't he? But I must admit, I thought I was there. Butch definitely looked like as if he needed a run. Nappers Hill looked like as if he needed a run. And I thought, Mr. Hope Street at a big price. I thought because I'd done the hospitality, and I told a few people to back him each way, because I thought he would be one that could nearly potentially finish second to the Jukebox man. The Jukebox man looked like, I know Ben Pauling said that he would come on bundles from the run, but Ben Pauling sends his horses, even when they are undercooked, he still sends the horses to the races fit. I think he will come on from the run, but he was definitely fit enough to go there and win the other day. And I fully expected him. When I looked at him going around the paddock, I fully expected him to win.
Okay. This is the betting with 1xBet. This is for Ireland only, just for Ireland. But if you are based in the Republic of Ireland and you want to sign up to 1xBet, don't ask me why it says 137 to 100. New betting odds. Work away for Gaelic Warrior. That's the price of a Gaelic Warrior, 137 to 100. Jango Baie 4s, Facto 9 to 2. Be interesting if they swapped and Gaelic Warrior went to the Savills and Facto came to the King George. The Jukebox Man's 9 to 2. Grey Dawning won't run, 10 to 1 shot. The defending champion Banbridge is 14s, Fastorslow 16s. He was being aimed at the race a year ago. Ilete Tomp, I think, would be a fascinating runner. He's obviously speedy, but I think he'd stay. Champ Kiley is a really interesting runner at 20s if he was to turn up. Jello, nice horse, not good enough. Ile Francais, 20s. How's Imperi Pass, Daryl?
Imperi Pass is going to be campaigning for a spring campaign.
Okay. He's had a small setback?
No, he's okay. We want him. He likes a bit of spring ground. So we're just gonna campaign. Hopefully he'll have a good end of season.
So just when Dan Skelton thinks he has the British Trainers' Championship won, along comes Imperi Pass to win the bowl again.
There you go.
And help him along or the milling.
You heard it first here, man.
Okay.
You heard it first here.
Okay, he'll be one of the team. So you're getting 20s about last year's runner-up, Ile Francais. Who appeals to you right now for the King George? Daryl?
I definitely wouldn't be ruling out Banbridge. I thought Jango Baie with his race at Ascot on Saturday, I know how much he'll come on an awful lot from the run. Step up, and I just think the makeup of the race is really going to suit him because, again, he's a horse that's slightly behind the bridle, but always there whenever Nico needs him. And I could see him running on, and I could see the track really suiting him as well. I think if I was to have a bet now, I think I would nearly back Django Baie on his run at Ascot on Saturday.
Lizzie Kelly. Who does Safi like for the King George?
The Jukebox Man. I think she agrees with me.
She better.
The Jukebox Man. We're waiting for him. Yeah, exactly. She has to. We're waiting for him to make his reappearance, weren't we? And it was everything we wanted and more. I feel like he looks big, strong, and he jumped very, very well. Like very, very well. And I really felt like Ben Jones didn't look like he'd asked him any questions at all at Haydock for a long, long way in that race. I like the fact that, and I think you can do this with really good jumpers, you kind of coast around for a circuit, and then rather than asking them to travel better, to gallop faster, you just ask them to jump better. And they make up so much ground with jumping well that you then don't have them to gallop faster until later than a bad jumper. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really like that about the Jukebox Man, because although he looks quite... Go on.
I've got a question about Jukebox Man, and the one thing that really, really worries me about the Jukebox Man is his tendency to jump left and hang left quite violently. I know you're going to say to me, well, he won the race at Kempton last year, the Grade 1, the Novice Chase around there last year. But I don't think that was a strong race. And I think, like, you got Highland who's there, Messasio of Alan King's. I don't think that was the strongest race. And I don't think he was ever really put under the pressure that he's going to be put under in the King George with the pace, with everything that's going on. That is my biggest worry. And I seen him going around Haydock there the other day as well. He loves leading on his near four. And whenever he switched on to his off four, he wasn't as comfortable. Now, that is my biggest worry. I would really, really fancy the Jukebox Man for a King George if it was left-handed and not right-handed. But that is the one thing that I'm really, really sorry. I can't get away from the fact that he hangs quite badly left and jumps badly left. And I just think if you do that around Kempton, when the pace is on, where you're always going to be at it, for me, that's a negative.
Does Lizzie Kelly have a counter?
No, don't worry about that, Daryl.
But to be fair, Lizzie would just put a little pricker on the left side of his mouth and he'll be fine. Just drive on.
How did you handle that with a horse that would hang violently left on a right-handed track? What would you do, Lizzie?
You just have to hold the one rein with both hands and hope for the best. Not much you can do, to be honest with you.
See, I love the fact that it's a very simplistic answer from Lizzie. Like, what are you talking about? You just hold the rein, one rein tighter. Duh. But she wants to be polite and not call me out for that. So
you would generally, Lizzie, all joking aside, you wouldn't have any problems there if you were training that horse and you were riding that. Would that not even come into your? Would you not even think about that going around or not?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've ridden a horse that tried to actually leave the race course, rather than go the correct way around it.
Look at Emmet's eyes.
But he did at Huntingdon. It was quite frightening, actually. But I think if they're going to hang, aren't they? And you just have to run that horse around the other way. But I get confidence from the fact that it's not something that Ben Pauling has sort of told us about or seemed to avoid one way because of the fact that he's run at other race courses. Sometimes I think that hanging can be a bit of a strange thing. Sometimes horses hang because they're not going as fast as they want, and so they hang because they want to go quicker. I find hanging's a bit of a tricky one. I don't always think that it's necessarily very easy to analyse. So I'm happy to not worry about it.
Sometimes I think you should just go with your gut instinct. And my gut instinct on Thursday night was that Gaelic Warrior would win the John Durkan. And I'll let you in a little secret. On Sunday morning when he was even money, I thought that was completely mental and switched to Facto. Imagine how smart I felt on Sunday. We're getting 9-4. This is crazy. Especially when he comes to 2 outs. Like, this is great. This is going to be fantastic. Walking out of Punchestown, I thought those two will win wherever they go next time out. And the Gaelic Warrior would win the King George. I think I said to one of the lads, you might actually see a generational performance. He'll take a lead from the Jukebox man. He'll just take it up whenever he wants and go and win. As far as he wants.
Yeah, I must admit, I do love the Jukebox, man. I do, but I just can't get it out of my head. The hanging and the jumping left. For me, it's a massive negative the way I've seen the horse run and the way I've seen the horse leading. But hopefully he'll prove me wrong.
Which he might do. It's horse racing. Who knows? They can make fools of those. And he's a completely unexposed horse, and Ben Pauling was adamant he needed that run as well. I know you're saying he looked well, but he was saying he needed, and that whatever he did, he was going to improve from. I mean, he was basically bracing for the idea of him finishing second. Whereas he sounded much more bullish about handstands. It's just funny the way racing can work sometimes. Great trainer, by the way, and a fantastic.
But was that because do you think that might be he was sort of half protecting himself?
Yeah.
Because I think that sometimes when
right.
we interview people, I think he would have been so disappointed if the horse hadn't turned into the horse that we were all hoping he was going to, that he was almost like putting it down before, so he didn't get too, excited or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's the reverse psychology thing. I'll say this: I think handstands is a nice horse, but
certainty. I thought he was just certainty going around there.
Handstands is a nice horse, but Resplendent Grey has gone past him. Like, he's improved, but he beat Resplendent Grey a year ago. He beat Django Baie a year ago. I don't know how, but somehow he did. And both of those horses have just gone, they've progressed. And I'm not so sure that he has. And maybe he's going to be better over an intermediate trip. Whereas handstands, that's the one that's the big flag bearer. He can be the superstar. And that'll put him perfectly for the King George. I think Gaelic Warrior will blow them all to pieces. It's men against boy stuff. That John Durkin was men against boy stuff. It was two men against a bunch of children. And they knocked 7 bells out of them. And they'll do it again.
Hopefully the two horses will come out of the race all right and fresh and well. I mean, but I do agree with you that race at the John Durkan the other day, that was a race of all ages. It was an unbelievable punch up between two very, very good horses. And like you say, it was a brilliant race on paper, but only the fact that only 2 of them got involved from pretty much the third fence, I think that says enough about the race in itself.
And Willie Mullins was making the point about some people like me had a slight stamina concern about Galop on the Champ, and that was ended very, very quickly because somebody asked Willie Mullins in a press conference one day about, oh, do you think Galop on the Champ stays? And he looked at him like they were stupid. He went, what are you talking about? He won over 3 miles over hurdles. If you can win over 3 miles over hurdles, you'll definitely win over 3 miles over fences. Gaelic Warrior did the same thing. So I understand where Lizzie's coming from in the sense that there is clearly a lot of speed with him. But if he's able to do that in Grade 1 novice company, they were talking about a stairs hurdle for him at one point, which Gavin Lynch has brought up on numerous occasions. I don't think stamina will be that much of an issue for him. I think he'll rip that field to shreds. Even money was the quote in my head going out of Punchestown. 6-4. I mean, look, it's short, but could be shorter. I'd go with him. To the other race, the shout out to Andy from Take a Pull, who I met yesterday with the great and powerful team there at Punchestown. The boys ended up on RT as well, which is great to see. Declan, Andy, and the team. Andy's line, I'd love to just steal this myself, but I can't do that because Andy got there first. The Betfair Chase is like the Temu version of a Grade 1 staying chase. It's like, yeah. This year's running certainly was. We did get a classy one. We got a Ralph Lauren style performance. Listen, we got a classy Ralph Lauren designer level performance, I would say, and we had a really classy runner up as well, who's a proper old boy, but the rest of them, yeah. Before we get to the full breakdown of that race, this episode is brought to you by 1xBet in Ireland. Over 7,000 markets for you to get stuck into every single day. Fast withdrawals, loads of new customer sign-up offers for you as well. Now is the time to switch to 1xBet in Ireland. 18 plus, terms and conditions apply. Play responsibly, your game, your odds, your 1xBet. The link is in the episode description on YouTube and all good podcast apps. And thanks for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, smash a like on this episode for Lizzie Kelly and for Safi in the background, who very much deserves it. Grey Dawning was second in this race a year ago. Maybe if he doesn't make the bad mistake of the last race, maybe if the ground wasn't attritional, it would have been different. But the Skeltons were really talking the talk this time around, Daryl. They had him right. This has been a long-term aim for them. And Dan Skelton now leads the Trainers' Championship by 250 grand more than this time last year. The horses are flying, and this was a pretty effortless performance from Grey Dawning.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? It was exceptional. But you know, sometimes, and Lizzie will agree with me, sometimes you learn more about a horse in defeat. Whenever you ride a winner, everyone's mixed up in the celebrations and the emotions and everything. Wasn't it fantastic? And you don't really learn much from them. Yes, you do learn, but you don't really learn. And I thought Harry Skelton, when he got beaten on him the previous year by Royal Pigalle, he went away thinking he left that race there behind. And I knew what Harry would do. I knew exactly. He would have learned so much from being defeated by Royal Pigalle the last time at Haydock, that he was always going to change tack. And the way the weather was looking, for me, this was always about this horse and this horse only. He was my nap of the day, nap of the weekend. I couldn't believe he went off even money in the end. But again, when I'm always looking at races, I look at the makeup of the race. You know, I knew Royal Pigalle was going to go forward. I knew Handstands was going to try and go forward, even though Carlisle the last time he kept jamming on from the front. Hattie Calours on a good day, he would go forward. Again, he couldn't go for whatever reason. Maybe he was a little bit flat. But I still think that, and I said it before, you still have that massive, massive jump from a handicap company into open Grade 1. I promise you, it's a £10 jump. And I was always can Hattie Calours do it? I had my doubts personally, because I just knew what Grey Dawning would do, and I knew how much Harry would have learned from last year. And I just thought, you know, the way Harry was going to play his cards, he was going to keep them close to his chest, and he was going to let them guys get on with it, especially turning in. He was going to right, Royal Pigalle, you're going to go have a go. Handstands, you're going to have a go. They're all going to have a go. And Harry was just going to end up sit for as long as he could. And in the end, I think, was it 3 out or maybe 2 out, Grey Dawning actually jumped on the back of the heels of Royal Pigalle. And what a warrior Royal Pigalle is. Is he 11 turning 12 this year? You know, to put up a performance like that against Grey Dawning, it was a monumental effort by Venetia Williams. And it was a brilliant ride by Charlie Deutsch. But it was teed up for Grey Dawning the other day, and he's absolutely trounced him.
He did. My initial reaction, Lizzie, was that 33-1 for the Gold Cup was looking very, very sweet now, and of course it's long gone. 14-1 is the price, and then you watch the John Durkin the next day, and you're like, yeah, that's kind of it. Now he's unexposed.
What's to say that he can't run well in the Gold Cup, though?
Say again.
What's to say he couldn't run well in the Gold
Cup?
I
think he can. He's an unexposed horse. He's won 10 of his 18 starts. He's a Grade 1 Cheltenham Festival winning novice chaser. He's won in the new course. He didn't run in the Gold Cup last year. And they're going to train him fresh. It looks like either he goes to the Savills and takes on I Know the Way You're Thinking, which would be fascinating if Dan Skelton comes over to Ireland and tries to take some of the Irish prize money off of Willie Mullins. That would be an intriguing one to do. But he's not going to go King George. And there is a possibility that they do a Teahupoo approach. Safi comes in for expert analysis. That they do a Teahupoo approach and just not run him again until the Gold Cup.
If you look at the John Durkin to the Gold Cup, realistically, Gaelic Warrior and maybe Factor File, they might be even going in that race. So therefore, you could you might even be completely dismissing the form of the John Durkin come Cheltenham in March for that race, no?
Yeah, because now Patrick Mullins has talked about Gaelic Warrior being a Gold Cup horse this season. So it's possible that, if you win a King George, I don't see how you don't go for the Gold Cup.
They would never ever ride, surely they'd never ride Gaelic Warrior the way they rode him yesterday over 2 mile 4 or 2 mile 3.5 in the Gold Cup.
No.
That's he'd get to the bottom of the hill and he'd be walking.
And who does Paul Townend ride? Assuming Galopin Des Champs is still Galopin Des Champs and he wins let's say the Savills on New Year's Day. Let's say that's the race he goes for this year.
You are not going to get off a dual Gold Cup winner. Absolutely no chance.
Step forward, Paddy Mullins for his first Gold Cup on Gaelic Warrior.
A Grand National winner last year, a Gold Cup winner this year. What an amateur.
But is he a player, Lizzie? Is Grey Dawning a genuine Gold Cup contender in your eyes?
I don't know. It's really difficult, isn't it? Because I think that Haydock, it's almost like a class of its own. Like it is a Grade 1 and it is a really important historical, but the form never really stands up elsewhere. But I personally, I'm a massive fan of Grey Dawning. Really, absolutely lovely horse, proper horse. But and obviously he did win the Grade 1 novice chase at the festival. But Ginny's Destiny hasn't gone on to do anything much since, and so you question, does that race stand up? And I say that somewhat reluctantly because I do genuinely really like him. He's a gorgeous horse, proper horse. And I feel like obviously last year he would have had a much harder race than he did this year. But obviously then it all fell apart at Kempton, didn't it? And why did it fall apart at Kempton? Was it that Kempton didn't suit him and he just had a bad, he was still almost like a hangover from his Betfair Chase defeat? Or was he just quite up to that level? So I think we've got some interesting things with him this year. Obviously, he then rerouted to Kelso and then went to Aintree, 2 decent runs. And Dan Skelton said he was happy with the way that the season finished for him eventually. But yeah, I think there's all to play for with him this season.
He seemed to be of the opinion that he left the season behind in that race last year, which then made it very interesting that they've gone back to the very same race. But this time around, he wins it on the bridle. He's won a Grade 1 staying chase on the bridle.
Right. Hold on. Grey Dawning's rate 166 yesterday, right? He's going to get, 5-6 for that?
Yeah, he'll be a 170 chaser now.
Right. So 170, right? You look at the Gold Cup last year, right? I know the way you're thinking, right? He was 160. Galloping the Stumps 177. Gentleman's Game 160. Monty Star 160. The Real Whacker 159. Royal Pigalle 163. Bambridge 168. Oi Senor 165. And Cobra's Cross 161.
Cobra's Cross, yeah.
So therefore, you've got Grey Dawning in the mid 170s. Surely, on the back of that, being fresh, I mean, he's done whatever he does now for the rest of the season is a bonus, because that was the race that haunted him for the last 365 days. So whatever he does for the rest of the year is a bonus. Surely, with the strength and depth of the 3 Mile division this year, surely to God you'd have a go at the Gold Cup.
See, this is what I'm talking about last year's Gold Cup, or this year's Gold Cup, but last season's Gold Cup. Who did Inothewayurthinkin really beat? He beat an off-form Galopin de Champs who was beaten jumping the first fence. And there was nobody else there to really take him on. Whereas if this guy gets parachuted into the race, he'll stay. That was a going day where he jumped much better, and he goes very well fresh. And he's a Cheltenham Festival winning racehorse who will only be 9 and still relatively unexposed over fences, and will come into the race on the back of a career best effort, assuming this is his last race.
He's also the only... I mean, Protectorat is not a Gold Cup horse.
No.
So he's the only... Oh, he's a Ryanair horse now, I think. Yes, that's right.
Well, you tipped him for the Ryanair at 16 to 1 on the TalkSport preview 2 years ago. You napped him for the Cheltenham Festival. Remember Alan Brazil looking at you like you'd lost your mind?
Yeah.
Lizzie Kelly had the last laugh there, let me tell you.
Good week. Yeah. No, I think Skeletons will be really, really keen to have a representation in that race. Like, it's really important now for the Skeleton team to have representation in the best races, and obviously win them. But they're absolutely flying this season, and the horses are running really, really well. So I'm hoping it's all systems go for the Gold Cup.
I think he's a crack bet each way for the Gold Cup.
Yeah, I agree. And that 50 to 1 was just bonkers. Maybe.
How was Hattie Kalors? What was he? 20 to 1 or something like that?
He was 14. I wrote about this in a blog for 1xBet. Hoti Kalor was 14 to 1 for the Gold Cup, and Grey Dawning was 50s.
That was nuts. But I do think the Gold Cup picture, around there will suit Haiti Kalors and really, really well. I was always worried about the pace around Haydock, whether he'd be fast enough for it. And I think it was proved right. I know he was a little bit flat, but to me, he still... I didn't think he'd have the speed going around there, around Haydock, around that track with some of them other horses.
And it's a little bit like York. It's a funny track. Some horses just don't take to it, and he's been well beaten over hurdles at that track before as well. So
it's a horrible race course.
Yeah. Where?
It's horrible. Haydock.
Don't you dare.
It's horrible.
Don't
say it, Lizzie. Say it, Lizzie.
Horrible. That horrible tight bend at the top, where if you're riding in anything over 8 runner field, you actually think you're going to fall over and die. It's horrible.
God, that's coming from you, Lizzie, the bravest woman that I've ever met in my entire life.
I really don't like Haydock. And then, I mean, I've ridden in that Betfair Chase, and you think you're travelling, and you think, I remember following Daryl, and I was thinking, I'm going to get him this year. and I thought, I'm travelling really well. I thought, I'm just going to try and get a bit closer. And I sort of wade through the treacle, and then the engine just falls out. It is the most bizarre race course, because you think it rides like a quick track, and then it takes like 3/4 of an hour to get to the finish line from the home bend. Like, it's just such a strange race course. It's
knowing the track and knowing your horse, Lizzie.
How is Bristol Demai, Daryl Jacob?
He's absolutely flying, so he is. Looks $1 million, loving life down with Claire and Toby Laws.
Brilliant. This episode brought to you by Haydock, Lizzie Kelly's favourite track. If you're booking a birthday party, make sure it's at Haydock. And join us for the big handicap chase that Royal Big Eye will try and win, which I certainly can't remember the name of. Yeah,
I'd say that'd have to be one of your favourite tracks, wouldn't it, Daryl?
Well, it'd have to be.
Yeah, I love it. I've been very lucky, mind. I've won a lot of the majority of their big races up there. But it must admit, when it came to Swindon Hurdle time, I used to like being at a different track because it was too fast.
Horrible.
Now, that was a race.
Horrible.
That was a race that I didn't enjoy riding in, the Swindon Hurdle on good ground or on the quicker side of good, because you needed a motorbike going around there, not a racehorse, a motorbike.
What was the big handicap that Bristol de Mai won first? Was it the Badger Ales at Haydock?
Handicap? No, he won the by 24 lengths, didn't he? He won a big handicap up at Haydock.
Yeah, and then he transitions into Grade 1s and absolutely smashes them up in the Betfair.
Yeah, but it was a Grade 1 4-year-old over hurdles. He was a Grade 1. He won the Scilly Isles a Grade 1 as well, and then he had his mark and he trounced a handicap up there. I can't remember what it was, and then he won the Grand National.
I'm trying to remember the name of that. Somebody in the comments, let us know what was the race that Daryl Jacob bolted up in a handicap.
He was trained by McCare, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In front.
Yeah.
I
actually schooled him
for McCare at the time.
Yeah, I schooled him as a 3-year-old over fences around McCare's.
Nick, well, he's like that. Oh, really? Yeah. Nice.
Anyway, no reminiscing about good old Bristol de Mai, but good to hear that he's in good form. We'll keep the fate with Haughty Colours. That runs too bad to be true. And according to the great Lizzie Kelly, Haydock is the worst track in Britain, and just draw a line under it. But don't worry, because for objective balance, we've got Daryl Jacob here to say it's one of the best tracks in Britain, and you should be super excited about going back to Haydock very, very soon. We'll just race through very briefly two horses that I think we can race through pretty briefly anyway in the first place, and that's Lossiemouth. Did we learn anything different about Lossiemouth other than she's alive, Daryl?
And she's picked up an awful lot of prize money.
And another Grade 1.
Work for a little canter round, yeah. Yeah, it's such a shame, isn't it, when races at Grade 1s are like that and you've got a 1 to 5 shot on that just goes out there, does her own thing and jumps great. I mean, that's the great thing about it. At least, I mean, she was always a brilliant jumper, bar that one blip, but, you know, she's well. She went an even gallop. She looked well in her coat. She looked well in the paddock, and she's moving well. So, look at job's done. She's had a little blowout and she's picked up an awful lot of prize money along the way.
Yeah, fair play. Good piece of placing from Willie Mullins. Great for Jamie Wren too, because he backed her at, I think, 5-1 during the week when it looked like she wasn't going to go for that race, and then suddenly easy money 5-1 on a 5-1 on shot. Well done, Jamie Wren. He'll never get a bet on with that bookmaker again, but you can get a bet on with 1xBet right now. You can click the link in the episode description. It'll take you right there to the 1xBet site. Over 7,000 betting markets for you to get stuck into every single day. New account signups, all kinds of different incentives and special offers for you. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus only. BeGambleAware.org. Your link to the 1xBet website in Ireland is available in the episode description on YouTube, all podcast apps, and some rubbish ones as well. Check them out, and hopefully don't take him to the cleaners like Jamie Wren did. But hey, listen, do it. Pull off a massive lucky 63, which hopefully we'll pull off at the weekend. Is Lossiemouth the champion hurdle contender, Lizzie Kelly?
No, but they will surely go in mares, won't they?
Still?
Oh no, I'm not starting this now, Emmet. No, please don't make me do this. I don't know.
If Anzadam wins, then suddenly, yeah, Jay DeGucci just blew out over fences. Shout out to Caliconti, did me a massive favour yesterday. So maybe they revert back to hurdles with her, in which case she becomes interesting for that race. If Anzadam goes and wins the Fighting Fifth, then that's the horse who'll go for the Christmas Hurdle at Kempton, and that becomes the new Willie Mullins 2-mile Grade 1 superstar, blah, blah, blah. But if he gets beaten, and then also gets beaten in the Christmas Hurdle, then suddenly Lossiemouth, well, Willie needs a champion hurdle contender. Is this her moment?
Okay, I really only have one comment that's sort of sensible. I thought it was interesting that Ruby, in the post-race analysis, said, oh, maybe Townend has wanted to ride her nice and quick to make sure that what happened in the Christmas Hurdle at Kempton last year doesn't happen again, which I thought was an interesting comment that made me think they'll be sticking around in that particular sphere. But she did that last year and went for the mares, so I don't know.
I think they'll target her for the champion hurdle this year. No stake, man. She's bomb-proof. She's not far away on rating. She gets her allowance. I think they'll campaign her. Depends on obviously what Andazam does on next weekend. But I think they've got her penciled in for a champion hurdle contender this year.
I think so too. I love Amsterdam. I thought his price was insane, but that was in the absence of a statement, obviously. I kind of want to go to Newcastle. I think we should all just book trips to Newcastle now. That's going to be some race.
Absolutely not.
She's been there. She's been there,
Awful
done that,
place.
bought the T-shirt.
Wait, Daryl. I'm sure you're going to say something very insightful, but Lizzie wants to bash another track.
Oh, here we go.
What's wrong with the home of the French furs?
No, I wouldn't go. Oh, it's horrible. It's so cold.
Newcastle, Lizzie.
Yeah.
They can't all be like Taunton, which is 5 minutes away from your house, you know. That you just roll up there,
No,
you leave your
I
house
don't
like
really
at 10
like
o'clock and you arrive at the racecourse at 10:10, like.
No, I don't like Taunton. Those fences are massive.
Is there any track you do like, Lizzie, by the way?
Yeah, Aintree, Cheltenham,
Kempton,
Exeter.
Exeter. Love Exeter. I quite like Fontwell. Newbury, Chepstow. So a lot of them I do like.
remember, you do have to turn up to these tracks for racing TV. Hey, actually, you know what? Just say it anyway. Who cares? The whole point is to give your opinion. It's not to censor it and go, oh, I better say this nice thing. That's what we love about Lizzie Kelly. She will tell you exactly what she thinks. Okay. You're not convinced that it's going to be a champion hurdle campaign for Lossiemouth. Daryl is. I'm very much on the fence. We've been here before. I'm kind of with Lizzie. We have to talk about it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, we're doing this again. I kind of want to see Amsterdam come out and put up a massive performance, but it's going to have to be against apparently a resurgent.
Get on, Lizzie. Come on,
Constitutional. Just to see, was she going to lose it again? Did you know, Lizzie, that Nicky Henderson was on this morning talking about how great he looks and how excited they are, and he's come out of his morning gallop well, not just his racecourse.
Someone on Twitter the other day, I can't remember who it was, had written a tweet or tweeted that they had muted the words Constitution Hill.
It was Kevin Blake.
On Twitter.
It was Kevin Blake. He said he's listened to loads of trolls over the years. He said he's listened to loads of trolls. He might have blocked some people, but he's never muted anything. And it's too much. He's just muted Constitution Hill. He's done.
Brilliant.
I thought that was great. Constitution Hill. Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to seeing him. And I suppose it will be really interesting. I do have my worries about all of the things that he's been through, his health scares, etc., and falls and all of those sorts of things. We want to see his jumping up to scratch. I think that's, and then after that, you can analyse the way. But at the moment, his jumping needs to be able to obviously get round the poor thing, and then we'll analyse from there. But hopefully, he runs a nice race, comes home safe and sound, and then we can see where we are. Well said.
It's going to be a cracking race. Looking forward to previewing it on Thursday, of course, on the Final Furlong podcast, which we will do for you then. Just very briefly on Wadu, the horse that Lossiemouth beat in the entry hurdle. She bolts up at Ascot. I thought Danny Gilligan gave her an incredibly confident ride. She would have been very interesting for the Hatton's Grace if she'd gone for that race, which was the initial plan. But she won well. It was a good piece of placing from Gordon Elliott because no penalty, Daryl. In fact, she was getting weight from her rivals, and she won pretty effortlessly, really, in the end.
She's unbelievable, that mare, isn't she? She's 8 from 9. Her only defeat over hurdles has been against Lossiemouth, hasn't it? She's a hell of a mare, isn't she? She's a mare that slightly behind the bridle. I agree with you. I thought Danny gave her an unbelievable ride the other day. I thought he was very cool on her. Let the guys get on with it in the front end. Again, they went a hard gallop in that race the whole way around. She looked like as if she was slightly off the bridle, but then he's kind of woke her up. He's produced her. He's got between two horses turning in. And from going to the second last, you could tell it was all over. And look at Celtic Dino was a nice horse. That beat Alexi, who went on to win the Greywood Hurdle. That beat, that was in second. And, Celtic Dino's no mug either. So I thought it was a really, really good performance. I think on rating, she should have won him. But I still do think that Celtic Dino is an improving horse. And I think the form of this Chepstow race with Alexi, I mean, it's just going from strength to strength. So I can see her. She definitely wouldn't be coming back and trip. If anything, she's going to go out and trip as the year goes along.
Well, that made me think these are proper graded performers, because she's definitely a grade 1 horse. We saw that in the entry hurdle last season. Alexi might be 2. Might not be grade 1, but he's definitely grade 2 class, I would think. And Celtic Dino is a really nice horse. There'll be something nice to be won with him. I'll just give one brief eye catch. Lizzie, any comments on Wadu?
No, just that she's lovely, and I look forward to seeing where she goes next.
She's lovely.
And great to see Gordon Elliott back in the winners' enclosure. Well, he had a fantastic weekend. Calaconte was deadly down in Cork. Obviously, Jaguji was disappointing. Nice few winners of Punchestown. Good. Weird to see Jack Kennedy in Cork, but it made sense considering the firepower they had down there. And it looks like a much better season for Gordon Elliott this year than it did last season. Okay, any eye catchers? I'll just go Cade Doughty, who was behind Kitspool, shaped very nicely. He'll definitely win. That horse has been talked about as being potentially a grade 1 horse last season. It would be a nice horse. Who have you got, Daryl?
A horse that Gabriel du Matin, horse that Dan Skelton came from Nichols. His first run with a wind operation, second in the Scottish champion hurdle to Kraken Rhapsody. Off 140 off top weight in that race, he's absolutely demoralised the opposition. He's going to be a horse to keep on the right side of this year. I mean, he's probably going to get at least a 10-pound hike from that. That's going to put him into the 150s. Life is going to be a little bit harder for him, but he beat a very, very good yardstick from an informed yard of Chris Gordon's that day as well. So he's definitely a horse to keep on the right side of.
Graded class for sure.
Actually, I could see that horse nearly running and winning a Kingwell hurdle, you know.
I was going to say Stairs hurdle, actually. They might go up that, but you'd be happy with a Kingwell for him?
Yeah, I think it would, yeah.
Okay. I'm sure Paul Nichols was absolutely delighted to see that horse going bolt up at Haydock. Deary me. Lizzie, can we just get a load of, instead of those emojis, can we just get Lizzie's, can somebody just capture Lizzie's expressions and we can just start tweeting those out as just totally out of context? Because they're gold. If you're listening on audio, you're missing out on gold here from Lizzie. The facial expressions tell you everything.
Does that. He does that when I'm online on things like this, and he does screenshots of stupid faces that I've got. I'm afraid I don't have anything original. I actually also really like the horse that Daryl just mentioned, the skeleton horse. Yep. I thought that was a very impressive performance at Haydock.
Paul Nichols. Shout out to Nichols. Don't worry, he'll be roaring back very, very soon. Okay, that's it. We're back again with you with the same team on Monday to talk about the Fighting Fifth. Lizzie Kelly's going to be waxing lyrical about a sensational performance from Constitution Hill. Oh my stars. Constitution Hill.
Here we
He's
go.
back, baby.
The Lizzie Kelly debrief. I look forward to this.
Take that, Anzadam. Take that, Skelton, with the new... Skeletons are going so well. How far is the new line going to win by? That's going to be some hell of a... I can't wait for it. I'd love to see Constitution Hill win. I really can't pick one right now. We'll go through that later on. And of course, we got the Hennessy as well. So all that and lots more to talk about. We'll have the 1xBet preview with you as well on Thursday's show. We'll be previewing all the best bets for the weekend's action. But until then, Daryl Jacob, Lizzie Kelly, and me, Emmet Kennedy, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again very, very soon on the Final Furlong podcast. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
Thanks for spending some time with us on the Final Furlong podcast. We're independent media, so if you like what we do, hit like, share, and subscribe. It's free, it's quick, and it genuinely helps. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more where that came from. Don't miss out. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major platforms, and join us on the gravy train. The Final Furlong podcast, independent, unfiltered, and powered by you.